The observation deck of the luminous Endeavour hummed with the usual pre-departure chatter. Jiggy sat cross-legged near the viewport, her violet eyes tracking the distant shimmer of the Andromeda Gate. Around her, the other cadets from a dozen different worlds exchanged boasts and stories, their bioluminescent tattoos and chromatic skin shifting with excitement. "Did you see the new human?" whispered Kelver, a Thranxian whose carapace clicked with amusement. "Just stands there, doesn't say a word." Jiggy glanced toward the corner where Alex stood, his posture relaxed but his eyes constantly moving, cataloging exits, weapons placements, structural weak points. He wore the standard gray jumpsuit of a level 1 recruit, no decorations, no rank insignia. His skin was pale, too pale for someone who'd supposedly grown up under any sun the Federation knew. "Humans," Jiggy muttered, returning to her datapad. She'd met a few before. Most were gregarious, loud even, eager to prove themselves among the galactic community. This one was different. "I heard he's from Earth," said Myra, a Corvellian whose wings fluttered nervously, "but not Earth Prime, one of the colonies." "Which one?" Kelver lined in. Myra hesitated. The file was redacted. That made Jiggy look up. Redacted colony files meant only one thing: death worlds, planets where the Federation had established settlements before realizing the native conditions were catastrophically hostile. Most were abandoned, a few became legends. Over the following weeks, the teasing began in earnest. Alex never responded to provocations, never raised his voice, never showed anger. When Kelver accidentally spilled caustic cleaning solution on Alex's bunk, Alex simply moved his belongings and wiped it down without a word. When a group of cadets challenged him to the combat simulator, he declined with a slight shake of his head. "Coward," they whispered. "Defective human. Probably from some low-gravity colony. Probably can't even handle standard grav." Jiggy watched from a distance, her scientific curiosity piqued. She was a xenobiologist, top of her class from the crystal gardens of Lumina 7. She studied adaptation, survival, evolution in hostile environments, and Alex was adapting, just not in the way anyone expected. He adapted by becoming invisible. 3 months into the voyage, the luminous Endeavour responded to a distress call from a mining station in the Kepler belt. Standard protocol, all cadets to report for evacuation support training. They assembled in Bay 7, where Commander Thex, a veteran draconid with scales like burnished copper, briefed them. "The station has been compromised by a gravitic anomaly, structural integrity at 40% and falling. We have 2 hours to extract all personnel. You will work in teams of 4. Jiggy found herself assigned with Kelver, Myra, and Alex. "Perfect," Kelver said, his mandibles clicking sarcastically. "We get the mute." Alex said nothing. He checked his emergency kit with methodical precision: oxygen reserves, medical supplies, cutting torch, grappling line. His movements were economical, practiced. The shuttle descent was rough. The mining station tumbled slowly in space, its superstructure groaning as competing gravitational fields tore at its skeleton. They docked at Port 7, one of the few airlocks still functional. Inside, the corridors were a nightmare. Gravity shifted unpredictably, one moment crushing them at 3 GS, the next leaving them floating. Emergency lighting flickered. Somewhere deep in the station, metal shrieked. "Sector 9 has 37 personnel," Jiggy read from her scanner. "We need to move fast." They pushed forward, Kelver taking point with his natural armor, Myra using her wings to stabilize in the shifting gravity. Jiggy monitored life signs, and Alex moved like a ghost, his footsteps silent even in magnetic boots, his breathing barely audible even through the comm. Then the corridor collapsed. A support beam, stressed beyond tolerance, sheared free and crashed down. Kelver dove left, Myra flew right, Jiggy barely scrambled back. And Alex was already moving. He didn't shout a warning, he simply grabbed the beam mid-fall with one hand, his feet locking into a magnetic stance that should have been impossible to achieve that quickly. The metal groaned. It was a 2-ton Durasteel support, buckling under its own weight in the fluctuating gravity. Alex held it. His arm trembled not from weakness, but from the calculated effort of not tearing the beam apart. Jiggy saw his fingers dent the metal, saw the tendons in his neck stand out like cables, saw something in his eyes that she'd never seen before: recognition. This was familiar to him. "Move," he said quietly, his first word in 3 months. They scrambled past. Alex released the beam and it crashed down behind them, sealing the corridor. "How?" Kelver began. "Later," Jiggy cut him off. "We have a job." But she couldn't stop glancing at Alex. His breathing had already returned to normal. There was no strain in his face, no pride in his expression. He just held a 2-ton beam like it was routine. They reached Sector 9 and began evacuation. Standard procedure for 37 personnel would take 40 minutes. They had 18 before the station tore itself apart. "We'll never make it," Myra said, her voice edged with panic. "We need to establish a direct route to the docking port," Jiggy said, studying the station schematic. "But there's no clear path. The main corridor is blocked by debris, and the alternate routes take us through depressurized sections." Alex stepped forward and tapped the schematic, indicating a wall. "That's 3 feet of reinforced hull," Kelver objected. Alex pulled out his cutting torch, looked at it for a moment, then set it aside. Instead, he pressed his hands against the wall and pushed. The metal screamed, then buckled, then tore. He pulled the hull plating apart like fabric, revealing the corridor beyond. The personnel stared, Jiggy stared. Even Commander Thex's voice crackling over the comm went silent for a moment. "How?" Kelver whispered. Alex gestured for the personnel to move through. They did, quickly, driven by fear of the collapsing station, but also, Jiggy noted, fear of him. During the extraction, Alex did things that should have been impossible. He stabilized a collapsing stairwell by becoming a living support beam, holding 2 sections together while 60 people climbed across his back. He opened a jammed airlock by ripping the manual override completely out of the wall. When a child was trapped under debris in a 5G gravity well, Alex walked into it, while Jiggy's bones ached at 2G from a distance, and lifted a structural component that would have crushed a combat mech. They evacuated all 37 personnel with 4 minutes to spare. Back on the luminous Endeavor, the debriefing room was silent. Commander Thex's reptilian eyes studied Alex for a long moment. "Your file says you're from a colony," the commander said carefully. "Which one?" Alex met his gaze. "Kepler 442b. The room went cold. Jiggy felt her breath catch. Kepler 442b, also known as Last Hope, also known in whispered legends as the Reaper's Garden. It was a death world not just hostile, but one of the few classified as extinction class. Gravity, 2.3 Earth standard. Atmosphere, toxic until terraforming reached 43%. Native fauna, 89% of species were apex predators. Survival rate for first-generation colonists, 12%. Those who survived didn't just adapt, they evolved. Their children were born different, denser bones, redundant organs, muscle tissue that could generate force levels classified by Federation xenobiologists as structurally implausible. They called the survivors Reapers because in the colony's early years, they were all that stood between extinction and survival. They hunted creatures that could tear through combat armor. They built shelters in gravity wells that would crush ordinary humans. They became, through necessity and generations of brutal selection, something more. The file was sealed, Commander Thex said slowly, because the Federation feared what Kepler 442b was producing. Alex nodded once. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Jiggy asked. For the first time, Alex's expression shifted. Not quite a smile, but something close to it, sad and knowing. "Would it have changed how they treated me?" he asked quietly. "Or would it have made it worse?" Jiggy realized he was right. If they'd known from the beginning, they would have treated him as a weapon, a threat, a monster. By staying silent, by being invisible, Alex had given them a chance to see him as a person first. "I'm sorry," she said. The words felt inadequate. "Don't be," Alex replied. "I'm used to it. On my world, silence is survival. Predators hunt by sound. We learn to move quietly, to act, not speak, to be still until the moment action is necessary." He looked at each of them in turn. "I didn't want to scare you, I just wanted to learn, to be part of something beyond survival." Kelver stepped forward, his carapace shifting in what Jiggy recognized as a gesture of respect. "You saved all of us today. You have my gratitude, Reaper." Alex shook his head. "Just Alex, please." But Jiggy knew the truth would spread. By tomorrow, every cadet on the ship would know. The silent human from the corner was from Kepler 442b. He was a legend walking among them. And yet, when she looked at him, she didn't see a Reaper or a weapon or a monster. She saw someone who had survived the unsurvivable and still chose kindness. Someone who could tear through hull plating, but chose instead to stand quietly and wait for people to see him as he truly was. "Thank you, Alex," Jiggy said. He nodded once, then walked quietly from the room, his footsteps making no sound at all.